Just finished nipping off the gasket that's kind of out of view, and what I'm doing is this gasket, the hogshead gasket, overlaps the gasket on the pan, and so just to kind of help keep things from having big gaps to try to fill, I just simply take a pair of scissors and I want to nip that off to about that hole. So when that gasket is in position, it's not overlapping the other gasket. So there it is, and it's up there pretty close and ucky-pucky. My sealer will seal all that up. The next piece that I deal with is the felt, and the felt's supplied to us. It's wide, and I don't know, this is just the way that I do it. I just trim off a little bit of it lengthwise to where so much of it isn't wadded up on the inside. Probably doesn't make a bit of difference. Just the way I do it. To be honest with you, it was kind of the way that I was taught. So old habits are hard to break. But see, I've trimmed the gasket down now a little bit. And the gasket is coated with sealer. Okay, we're using that Permatex product, and I would just run a good healthy bead on both sides of the felt and then drop it in place, and using a screwdriver, and I'll make sure that I have enough of it that curls, turns under, and gets onto the other gasket. And sometimes they're just a little excess of length to suit me, so I'll just trim it off to where when I've got that gasket installed with a little sealer on it and pressed into place, and again, you know, if I had a bead of sealer on both sides of it, I just take my screwdriver and just poke it into place. I would also have ran some sealer on the pan, and then I would lay this gasket in place, and I'd run me another bead of sealer on the gasket. But again, we're going to take this thing apart later dates for demonstration purposes. So for right now, I'm not going to glue the felt down. I'm just going to get rid of it. And this could get a little fussy because the sealer will hold those gaskets in place. My brake band, my bands, transmission bands, I want to get them in a position to where when I drop the hogshead on here with the pedals and the shafts, that I'm not hitting the edge of the pan, so it'll drop in. And sometimes this goes real easy, and other times this can be a bit of a bear. But you have to take the clutch ring and get it into where it rides on the clutch. And so with my fingers to the back side, I'll get that started. And like I said, sometimes this gets a little overwhelming. There we go. Now it's starting to go. Now it's going down. When you have this felt in here, you want to make sure that you get the hogshead as far forward as it'll go and drop it down on, so you're not shifting that gasket off, the felt off. But like I said, we don't have any sealer, so it's going to get a little unwieldy. And I'm just I'm going to line up my gasket, make sure that all my holes are in place. But I won't have to fight that too much. After sealing up, putting the gasket sealer on the felt in a more permanent deal, I installed all of the nuts and bolts in the Hogs head, and I like to put it up on its nose. It just makes it easier for me. Whatever you decide to do is your deal. You see my fourth main is still happy. Alright, so how we doing? It's looking good. I love it. Looking good. So the fourth main gasket would be sealed up on both sides. The gasket goes between the Hog's head and pan in here. There is not a gasket where it goes with the on the ball. I drop in there just lovely, and I should be able to start my bolts without them being in a bind. Fourth main goes up and down, and I would probably, since I've got it all sealed, if I had it all sealed up, I'd probably come in here and put a couple of bolts and nuts on this side of things and lock it down and put it in place so it would glue and seal. Okay. So I got some pieces that I'm going to put in now. I got the spring, the adjusting nut, and the washer. And the washer has a dimple on one side, and it'll only go in one way. And there's a split in the nut, and that locks it into place. So always make sure that you have that detent to where it'll work. But to keep from losing these pieces, just in case I drop one, I've got 4 rags, and if it takes more, I'll count. But you want to make sure that you have the count of how many rags you got stuffed into this goose. So I want to make sure that the rags are stuffed in there in such a way that I won't lose a piece. And to be on the really safe side of things, a little piece of thread can really be your friend here, because it's small enough to where you can start threading the nut on, but not so big that it interfere and cause any problems. And so again, I want to make sure that I have them in the right relationship to each other. So I've looped a piece of thread through my nuts, and I've still got my safety wires that I put into this thing. And I'm going to slide my spring in place, and so now I got my spring in place, and I'm going to slide my pedal through. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I've got my spring in, and I have a little bigger screwdriver here. And you kind of got me working at a little bit of an odd angle, but I think I can do this. I'm going to take my screwdriver and come in here and pry my band and get another one and just kind of hold it over and take my washer, my locking washer, and it's got a detent on it, and it's got a notch, and the notch goes into the shaft of the transmission shaft. There it is. And I just barely got enough to do that. There we go. Now I'm going to run my nut up on there and get it started. Get my string out of the way. And I'll finish adjusting it, but you can see my little detent, and the nut is where it needs to be. And I'll go and I'll do the same thing on the top one, the brake band. Get my pedal out of the way. Get my spring installed. Slide my pedal back into place. And again, I'll tie up the nut in the washer and pry that over and get it started. And the last thing I'll do is I'll put it in the low speed. So I just finished installing the lock nut, the adjusting nut, and I don't want to lose any pieces here. So I'm going to grab a hold of what I'm getting ready to cut off and make sure that it doesn't go in there, and then all I need to do is just pull that wire out, and it'll be pinched in there a little bit, and I find it's just as easy just to curl it up and pull it on out of there. Pulled it out, and there's all the wire that I had. Kind of pre-adjust those down to where they get snug with a wrench. And the last one I have to do is the low speed. Should be able to just back it out of there, push the spring in, and I can actually clip them wires off of there right now. Put in the low speed spring. So let's go ahead and put that on. And now I'd count my rags. 1, 2, 3, 4 rags as soon as I can get that last one out of there. So I've got all the rags out of it. I'll go ahead and plop the motor off, down. We got the head to install, and I'll do a little pre-adjusting on these, get them in the wheelhouse where they should work. Don't want to get them too tight, they're Kevlar bands. So yeah, you'll sneak up on them. Typically, you'll get an adjustment and it'll probably slip a little bit, and so you'll take it up a half a turn, and you might go through 2 adjustments or so, and then you'll just drive it for a long time before you have to adjust them again. If you get them too tight, it will cause a problem. Potentially it'll crack drums. So adjusting the bands is kind of a pre-adjustment, at least to get it in the car and have some transmission, have it be able to function, but it's going to have to be readjusted because the bands are going to seat in, and you'll probably on Kevlars go through a couple of adjustments to do it. But the way I initially set it up is to where I get about half the travel on the cam, and so that's just a matter of setting it up to where when I collapse it, I've got about half travel. And I've done that on all of the bands. And so that's where I would do my initial start and take a wrench and lock down a slow speed lock nut. And then the next thing I would do is install our slow speed linkage. And that is pretty well called out in the book. Somewhere between, when I have the pedal back, a 1/16 of an inch to, in some cases I found where it's just best to have it line up, but I'm going to go ahead and set it up to where it's about a 1/16 of an inch, which it is. And so I'll take our clevis pin, and I don't know whether it goes inside through or outside through. I just do it that way, but your mileage may vary. I'll stick a cotter key in there. Notice I got a rag. Now's not the time to drop anything into the engine. You don't want to go fishing. And I'll just splay this out some for right now, because when we adjust on the bands, we may find that we need to readjust that. So I'm just going to get it to where it won't fall out of there. So that's got our clutch linkage hooked up. The next thing would be install the transmission cover. We're going to put one of the accessory filters in. Catches lint, catches debris, catches parts that break off, helps disperse the oil over the transmission bands. I would take Permatex or sealant and seal the gasket down to the hogshead, and I would seal the other end to the transmission inspection cover, and a thin wipe of grease between the two. But again, I'm not going to do that at this time, and this might be kind of fun to do. Get all these pieces all lined up here right now. Alright, so we have our transmission cover installed. And I'll just finish tightening up the screws. And the next thing that we'll do is we'll, for the engine over on the side, install the head.